G'day guys, Shawnee from Life and Tennis. In today's video, I'll be recapping my latest round of Pennant, the club competition I play in Australia, so round 5. And yeah, I had a very tough singles loss this weekend, going down 7-6, 6-1. So in this video, I'll be focusing on the mental side of tennis, of my match, because that was a bit of a theme this weekend, and I feel like there's a few things I can change for future singles matches. I'll start with a very quick recap of the match. So yeah, played a guy, Gary, who I know very well. I've played him 4 times before, so now the head-to-head is 2-all. And yeah, he's the kind of player that I know I can beat. I've beaten him in the past, but also know that he can be dangerous on his day. Like, he's got decent shots. I wouldn't say he's got a major weapon, so to speak, but he's got a decent serve, and he's very solid at the net. So they're probably his 2 biggest strengths. But from the back of the court, I know that I've got a better forehand, more aggressive forehand, and backhand to backhand, I feel like my backhand's stronger as well. So yeah, from the ground, I really feel like I can do a lot of damage against him. But at the same time, if I'm missing shots just through my aggressive play, he's the kind of player that will just kind of get shots back. So my strategy in the past against him has generally been just be a brick wall, and then when I get the opportunity to step in on my forehand and attack, that's what I generally do, and it's been successful on a couple of occasions. But yeah, the first thing I'll mention is I was actually up 4-1 in the first set, and then from there, just kind of inexplicably just started getting tentative, and there's no other reason I can think of other than the fact that I was just thinking about the scoreline too much. Being up 4-1, going, oh shit, I'm up 4-1. What do I do now, kind of thing. So I think what happened was I had a very clear strategy up to 4-1, and then from that point, for some reason, I just started playing, yeah, I started getting tentative. I forgot about what I was trying to do out there. Like I did have a strategy, but it was a very vague strategy. I wasn't thinking about, okay, you know, hit deep down the middle, or hit the ball cross court and, you know, step in, hit down the line on short balls, whatever. Like, I sort of didn't really have a deliberate approach, which is why I think I started getting tentative. And one thing I've noticed in those matches where I have got tentative is it tends to be my forehand in particular that suffers, because my forehand is the shot that, you know, is actually my strength, but I think it's also the shot that I can sometimes get more nervous on, because I feel like I can do anything with that shot, but I don't always know what to do at the right time. So am I hitting like a safe shot, like a high heavy topspin down the middle? Am I stepping in being aggressive? Am I hitting down the line, coming into the net? Am I hitting flat, topspin, whatever? So, and I think that's what happened at 4-1. I started thinking too much about the score, and I didn't have a clear approach as to what I was doing on the forehand side. So yeah, unfortunately from 4-1, he won 3 games in a row, and I did still manage to get it to a tiebreak. So I did well enough to, yeah, push that first set to a tiebreak, but then found myself down 6-3 very quickly. Got it to 6-5, but then he hit a serve out wide and I missed the return. So yeah, very, very tight first set, but I still felt like, you know, okay, close first set, but I can put that behind me and basically go back to square one in the second set. But what I found happened in the second set was it just went from bad to worse. I got down 3-love very quickly. Same thing happened where I had a clear approach, but I was just missing shots that I don't normally miss. I was hitting the tape. I was missing by fine margins, and I think because of that, I started losing confidence in my shots, and then I started missing by bigger margins, and then I think Gary just, yeah, had his confidence. He gained in confidence as the match went on. What I ended up doing at 3-love down, I ended up changing my racket, and I actually broke him to get it to 3-1. And I think if I had held serve that next game at 3-2, I would have had a lot of confidence that I was back in the match. But unfortunately, I couldn't hold my serve at 3-1, got to 4-1, and I changed rackets again to another racket. And then I found that I just was mentally completely out of the match. I just lost all faith in my game. And to be honest, I feel like I did kind of tank the last couple of games. It wasn't like I wasn't trying. I was still trying to hit shots in, but I was just like trying to let out some frustration by just, you know, belting the ball as hard as I could, or being ultra aggressive. And it didn't work out, as you can imagine, because it was kind of an all-out aggressive approach, which wasn't probably the right approach at that point in time. And I think Gary knew that too, so he was just letting me miss basically. And yeah, finished up the set very lamely, 6-1, which unfortunately did hurt my UTR. My UTR before the match was 7.6, and now it's 7.45, which is not the worst drop in the world, but it's, again, I'm losing to a player who, in my mind, I think I'm better than, but at the same time, I also can't take for granted the fact that, you know, I can still lose these kinds of matches. I think I've also got to be mindful that to always respect your opponent, no matter who it is, and whether or not you think you're better than them. I know tennis players, we all have a lot of pride and ego, when we get out on a tennis court, but you have to put that aside and just play the player who you're facing, who's across the net. No matter whether or not they're, a 9 or a 7 or a 6, you've just got to play UTR rating I'm talking about, by the way. You've just got to play the appropriate strategy for that player, no matter who it is. My learnings, the takeaways from the match, I definitely think it was all mental. It was nothing to do with like my strategy or how I was hitting the ball. Well, it was, but the mental fed into all the rest of it. It wasn't like I had the wrong strategy or I was just missing important shots on like set points or break points or whatever. I got tied at 4-1 when there was actually zero pressure on me. So a lot of it is purely mental, which relates to the fact that I started thinking about the scoreline too much and I started going out of my body and thinking about the bigger picture as opposed to like focusing in or honing in on the micro moments, staying in the present, all the rest of it, which is not an easy thing to do. But if there's one thing I've learned from Novak, which I can definitely, I can take and I would advise all players to use this approach. It's that you can't stop your mind from wandering, but you can have an impact on how long your mind wanders off before you get back to the present. So you can't stop all those thoughts going around in your head. There's no way of stopping that completely, but you can reduce the amount of time spent thinking about those distractions. So let's just say I'm 4-1 up and I start thinking about the scoreline and I'm like, okay, geez, 4-1 up, what am I doing here? The best thing I could probably do in that situation is go, okay, cool. That thought has come into my mind. I'm just going to accept it and then let it filter out. And then I'm going to go back to my strategy, which let's just say is I'm just going to hit deep down the middle with lots of topspin and just go after my shots no matter what. And just back myself in, because at that point, if I have a very, very clear strategy that I'm trying to execute, what will tend to happen is that fear will go from a 9 to a 3 because I'm not worried so much about the outcome. I'm just focusing purely on what am I trying to do? What's the task at hand? What am I doing in this present moment? As opposed to, oh, it's 4-1. I want to get to 5-1 here so I can, get closer to winning the set. If I go, forget about 4-1, let's just focus on what I can control here, which is the shots that I'm hitting and where I'm hitting them, then that will take away the fear and it will get me back to focusing on the present moment. So that's probably my biggest takeaway from this particular match. It sounds super obvious, but it's not easy to do in the moment. Easy in hindsight, but not easy in the moment. Because one thing I did find was it was particularly my forehand side where I was making a lot of errors, because that tends to be the shot that I know wins me a lot of matches, where I tend to feel like I'm a superior player. I will often find that my forehand can go toe-to-toe with most players that I come up against, with a few notable exceptions. But it's also a shot, I think, that I put a lot of pressure on myself to do something with. So what I noticed when I was in my match with Gary was there would be times when I'd be hitting and my elbow would be coming up. So like my technique would be affected instead of hitting like a smooth, follow through across the shoulder, with that nice kind of quick racket snap back. So that's something I did notice in the moment was happening. And again, sometimes when that happens, you're thinking about how can you change that. And the best way to actually change that is to not worry about the actual technique, but just focus on where are you hitting it. Because if you focus on where you're hitting it, you don't care about how you hit the ball. It's got to go somewhere. A good example of someone with very unorthodox technique is Daniil Medvedev. I mean, no coach would ever teach a player to play like Daniil Medvedev, but look at the guy. Like, he's won a Grand Slam. He's made, 5 or 6 Grand Slam finals. He's one of the best hardcourt players of the last 5 or 6 years. He's just a beast of a player because up here, he's so mentally strong and he knows exactly what he's doing when he gets on court. So yeah, I don't think it matters what your technique is or really how you hit the ball. It's just being so deliberate in your strategy and your approach and where you're hitting it and visualizing where that ball's going as well, which easier said than done. I think it's something that you've just got to work on. You've got to continue to work on it, and it's always going to be something you're working on, in practice and on match day. But the more that you have this approach and that you do work on it, the less time you will spend worrying about the outcome and, you know, getting out of your head, and also, you know, having moments where you get a bit tentative. So for example, this match I was playing, let's just say I thought 30% of the match I played good tennis and 70% I was playing sort of tentative, nervous tennis. If I played Gary again and I had a more deliberate approach, next time I would hope that I would at least be, say, 50-50, you know, at the bare minimum. And then from there, you keep trying to improve that to 60-40, 70-30, until the point where it's like, I'm just playing a match without thinking about anything, which obviously is quite rare because we all get nervous, we all get tight, we all get tentative. You want to make sure that the ledger is on your side, if that makes sense. So at the moment, I'm, you know, my balance, I'm a bit off balance at the moment. I want to get back to the balance, and then I want to tip the scales in my favor, is basically what I'm trying to say. So that's the learnings from this particular match. And it was a very tough loss. I definitely drove away feeling very down, very dejected. You know, I said to my team, I don't want to play singles for at least a couple of weeks. There's a few other life things going on. You know, I've got a crazy toddler running around at the moment. And while it's a lot of fun, it's also very challenging, and it can be a lot to commit to a tennis match on a Saturday when I know that I'm not there helping, looking after him with my wife. So sometimes that can creep in, even if it's more subconscious. But I know that if I am to commit to a tennis match on, you know, on a weekend, I've just got to commit. I've got to just, yeah, commit in the knowledge that doesn't matter how long it takes me to finish this match, I'm just going to give my absolute all in this match, no matter what the outcome is, and accept no matter what result it is, whether I win or lose, just accept the outcome. So yeah, that was my match analysis and takeaways from my most recent Pennant match. This weekend is actually a bye or a week off because we've got a long weekend here in Australia for the King's birthday. So my next match, I am scheduled at this stage to play a doubles match. The one thing I will add is I actually, unfortunately, did a soft tissue injury as well over the weekend, because on the Sunday after the Saturday match, I went for a 9-kilometer run. I've been training for a half marathon for those playing at home. And yeah, by the 6-7K mark, my knee started to feel really, really sore. And yeah, I had to stop after 9Ks. And yeah, basically when I got home, I found that my I think it's an IT band injury, because it's the lateral knee. So I got lateral knee pain, and I found that it was, yeah, really painful to run, and then even to walk was really uncomfortable for a couple of days. So yeah, did all the right things, you know, with the RICE or RICE acronym. So rest, ice, compression, elevate. And I think the R stands for referral, which, you know, means go to a physio. I'm not sure if I'll go to a physio, but definitely, you know, I've been resting the last 3 days, been icing my knee, been keeping it elevated, and I'm wearing a compression band at the moment on my knee, so making sure that I'm not doing any exercise, keeping weight off it as much as possible. So hopefully in a couple of weeks I'll come back, yeah, better and stronger. But yeah, anyway guys, that's me for this week. As always, keen to hear how your matches are going, how your club competitions are going, how your tournaments are going, any learnings that you've taken, especially if they relate to mental adversity or, you know, mental challenges you've been finding in your matches. I'm really, really keen to hear from all of you guys. But yeah, as always guys, please like and subscribe for more life and tennis related content. Cheers guys.